Kat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And this is the second episode in our 4-episode Halloween event. And we are talking about Young Frankenstein, which is a comedy film from 1974. It has an 8 on 134,979 votes. So the spoiler-free synopsis. Respected medical lecturer Dr. Frederick Frankenstein learns that he has inherited his infamous grandfather's estate in Transylvania.
This is directed by one of my favorite directors of all time. This is directed by Mr. Mel Brooks. He's also directed The Producers, Blazing Saddles, and Spaceballs. And this stars Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn, and Marty Feldman.
Gene Wilder, I like him. He is Willy Wonka.
Yes, he is. It's like Gene and Mel are really good friends, so there you go.
Yeah. See, I know names. I know Gene Wilder.
As like Gene actually wrote the script with this.
Yeah, he did. I saw.
So this this is his baby. He's like, Mel, just direct it.
Hey, can you come direct this movie for me, please?
Pretty much.
This is the second Mel Brooks film I've seen. So I'm looking at his list of movies he's directed, and I haven't seen any other of them besides this one now and Spaceballs. Just because I know at least like the big ones that I've heard of from him, other than these two, Blazing Saddles and Robin Hood Men in Tights, are comedies.
Yes, they are.
I just avoid them like the plague.
Oh, come on. I know, you're not a comedy person. It's okay.
So, ratings. IMDb, 28.6% of users rated this at an 8. Metacritic has an 80. Rotten Tomatoes, 93% on 61 critical reviews. Two of the Fresh, Pauline Kell. Wilder's hysteria seems perfectly natural. You never question what's driving him to it. His fits are lucid and total. They take him into a different dimension. He delivers what Harpo promised. Huh. I feel like that's kind of a digs at Harpo Marx.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I was like, hey.
Don't compliment somebody and then just like backhand another person. That's not nice.
Like, that's kind of
Especially
rude.
Harpo Marx, really?
Yeah.
It's like, leave him out of this.
Poor Harpo.
I was like, yeah, leave Marx Brothers out of this, please. They were amazing.
Don Drucker. More about the myth of Karloff than the monster. This Mel Brooks pastiche is probably his best early film.
Okay.
Well, the ones before it's Blazing Saddles, The 12 Chairs, and The Producers.
I'm going to be honest. I love Blazing Saddles more than I love Young Frankenstein.
I avoid Blazing Saddles.
I've actually seen Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks, so that's part of the reason why.
So, 2 Rotten. John Doerr. It is good-natured, low-brow, backlot, hit-or-miss humor, but with no cumulative effect beyond its succession of hard-worked jokes. I will admit it's definitely, at least for people that have specific tastes in humor, it is kind of hit or miss. Because, like, I have specific tastes in humor, and this is the complete opposite of what I like. So.
This is a lot of wordplay.
And I like dark humor or unexpected humor. And most of this is not.
This is like you gotta think about it.
Going into it, I'm just like, I know this is a comedy. And, like, I got all the jokes. I understood them all. I just didn't think they were funny.
It's like, yeah. It's a lot of wordplay. I'll say
Yeah.
that. A lot of
it
wordplay.
is. Dennis Schwartz. Most of the gags were juvenile. Yeah, I will agree to that one. Like the physical gags, I was like, I see kids do some of this stuff. Most of them, not all of them, but.
Well, that's kind of rude.
The consensus. Made with obvious affection for the original, Young Frankenstein is a riotously silly spoof featuring a fantastic performance by Gene Wilder.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a good description of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. So the money. The budget was $2.8 million. In the US, it made $86,273,333. Its all-time domestic rank is 873. And its highest all-time rank, it hit on January 1st, 1982, was number 32.
Wow, that's like, what, 8 years later? Not years.
Yeah.
I can't do math today.
That's okay.
It's like 74, 6. No, I was right.
Yeah.
I was right. I can't stop doubting myself. Stop.
So, the awards. This was nominated for 2 Oscars, but didn't win any. It did win 11 total awards and had 5 total nominations. So, the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, it won Best Horror Film, which I don't really agree with at all. But, I mean, whatever.
I think that's funny that it won Best Horror Film.
You're the Academy of Horror, so how about it? Whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but
I think
whatever.
That's great.
So, Best Supporting Actor, Marty Feldman. Best Director, Mel Brooks. Best Makeup, William Tuttle. Best Set Direction, the Golden Screen in Germany. It won one of those. The Hugo Awards, Best Dramatic Presentation. Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, and Mary Shelley. Mel Brooks for story, screenplay, and director. Gene Wilder, story/screenplay. And then, of course, Mary Shelley, because it's based upon her book, Frankenstein. National Film Preservation Board, it is in that registry. Online Film and Television Association, it is in the Hall of Fame. It was inducted in 2016. Science Fiction Fantasy Writers of America, Best Dramatic Writing. And the Saturn Award, Best Actor, Marty Feldman.
Oh, I love Marty Feldman.
So, yeah, that's all of the awards. Do you want me to do initial thoughts first?
Yes, because I have a lot to say.
Okay. I knew going into it, it was a comedy because we had been we talked about how we each picked a horror movie and a comedy, and we thought that that was funny. So I knew going into it, it was comedy. I didn't realize how much of a comedy it was. I was slightly excited originally because it was called Young Frankenstein. So I was like, oh, it's like a different, it's like before he does the monster. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking it was kind of like a satire comedy building up to before he went crazy and did the monster. Then I watched it and I was just like, yep, don't like it. It was just too much of comedy that I don't like. I liked the idea of the story, how it was like his grandson going back and being like, kind of denying the whole legacy of his grandfather. I liked that about it. But there's literally only one part of this movie that made me laugh. And it wasn't because I didn't get the jokes. It's just because I just didn't find them funny. Which, I mean, I don't like comedy, so it's to be expected.
Exactly. It's like, I wasn't expecting you to like this very much. And that's okay.
I did like the idea of the story, and Gene Wilder did an amazing job. It took me a little bit to get over the Willy Wonka, because that's literally, like, I watch Willy Wonka a lot, or I did when I was little. I haven't seen it in a while, but I used to watch Willy Wonka a lot, so he's, like, firmly playing in my brain as Willy Wonka, so it took me, like, a good 10, 15 minutes to get over the fact that he's not playing Willy Wonka in this movie.
Nope, he's not Willy Wonka, Kat.
Yep.
It's like, I've actually seen him in things before, like, after this, and other things besides Willy Wonka and Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. I've seen it in other things, so I'm like, I know how he's a great actor, he is.
Yeah, he is. But he's just, like, so firmly planted in my brain as Willy Wonka that it took me a minute. Because I think I've seen him in other stuff as, like, playing it, but those are just more that I'm just like, nope, that's Willy Wonka. What you doing? What you doing, Willy Wonka? You know.
Okay. I get you. I do. Alright, so me. I actually remember the first time I saw this. I was in middle school, actually. I was in 6th grade. My English teacher actually showed it. She showed it every single year for Halloween. And she showed it because of the wordplay jokes. And this is, like, one of her absolute favorite movies of all time. And so she played it on Halloween every single year.
That makes sense.
So I'm like, thank you, Ms. Zink, for showing me this movie. I do. I tell her that every single time. I'm like, thank you for showing me this movie. It is great. I was like, see, you can trust your teacher to show you some good movies.
Yeah.
It's true. First time I saw it, I was laughing so hard. I was like, oh my god, no wonder she likes this movie so much. Because there are just so many wordplay jokes. There are just so many things you have to pay attention to. And every time I watch it, I always catch something different. And this time when I watched it again, I caught another thing that I had missed.
Okay.
So, I mean, I love this movie. I do. It's great. But again, I'm a big Mel Brooks fan. I love comedy movies. So...
yeah, this movie was, like, made for you.
This is my movie. This is for me. Plus, it's Halloween related, so, I
mean... I mean, it came out way before you were born, but he's like, oh, you know what? This girl's gonna like this movie.
See, this is why I love Mel Brooks so much. I think, like, me and him would be, like, the best of friends. We would. I don't care if he's, like, 93. Okay, I don't care. He's as sharp as a tack still. But yeah, and then there's, like, just so many great actors in this. I mean, like, Gene Wilder, we said, Madeline Kahn, she's amazing. Marty Feldman is a great comedic actor. I mean, like, and he's a great comedic writer, too. He did a bunch of TV shows. He wrote for them for years.
Oh, okay. We've had Madeline Kahn before, actually, on our list. I was like, why does her name sound so familiar?
We have.
Paper Moon.
Yes, Paper Moon.
We've had her on our list. And then also, I know her off our list from Clue.
Yes, she's in Clue. She does a lot of movies. Also, she has a bit cameo in the Muppet movie. Did you know that? Exactly. And then, like, there's, of course, Cloris Leachman, who's another great actress. Again, another comedic actress. She's great.
Isn't she that, she's the caretaker lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, there is, who else? Gene Hackman's in this, actually. If you didn't know that. And, of course, Peter Boyle is the monster. So, I mean, come on. It's like, I was like, oh my god, this is great when I saw it. Because, you know, I remembered him from the TV show, Everybody Loves Ray.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he's the dad on that. So I was like, yay, he's in this. I recognize somebody.
Because they did a good job on his makeup, so I was, like, sitting there trying to, like, I was, like, looking at him, and I didn't look up the names or anything, but I was, like, looking at him, I was like, why does that dude kind of look a little bit familiar? That makes sense.
And I'm sorry, like, my last favorite one, I gotta say, this actor, Kenneth Mars, is Inspector Kemp in this. Cracks me up every single time I watch it.
Oh, you mean Inspector Gadget? That's what I was calling him the whole movie in my notes.
His name is Inspector Kemp. Yes.
Nah, Inspector Gadget.
I mean, if he has gadgets, yeah, but he doesn't.
I know.
He's just hilarious.
He just reminded me when I saw him of Inspector Gadget.
That makes sense. Oh, that's what I got. I love it.
All right, that was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then stop listening and come back after you've watched it. I really like the beginning of this movie where
it's got like that nice older like horror film effect to it. It
does.
Like the lightning and rain and the old castle in the background and everything.
It reminded me of Haunting on Hill House that we watched last year. Is that what it was?
We watched House on Haunted Hill.
Yep.
That was my movie
Something
last year.
with a hill and a haunting in a house.
So you see the castle exterior and everything, and you hear like the clock, striking midnight and everything, your typical thing. And there's like, you go inside and you see this fireplace burning and everything, it's nice and warm. And there's a coffin laid out.
Yeah.
And it says on top, Baron von Frankenstein.
And, okay, I'm going to pause you right here.
Go.
I'm just going to interject like I did that one time. So, knowing this was a comedy going in, this whole first couple minutes with, like, the hill and the castle and, like, the stormy night, and then you've seen the casket and stuff, normally that would get my hopes up super, super high. But I was smart and I didn't let it.
Because it's a comedy.
Yeah, I was like, nope, this is not what you want it to be. Just stop. That's what I was telling myself.
Well, good that you told yourself mentally, wait a minute, this is a comedy, there's something going to be going on. And there is, because the casket opens up, and it reveals, like, this, like, skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, it looked kind of hokey, but it's supposed to look like that, because it's a comedy. And it's holding this box.
Yeah.
And someone's trying to take the box from it, and it's just, like, resisting and pulling back. Which makes me laugh every time. But, again, I love this movie.
I kind of smirked at that.
Oh, I got a smirk out of you.
Yeah, it was a smirk. It wasn't a laugh.
Well, that's something. I'll take a smirk. Yeah. I'll take a smirk. All right, so then it goes to, you see who has the box. It's this man. He's an older man. And he's carrying it, and he's sitting in on this, it seems like a middle school class. And it's on the nervous system. And so you hear Gene Wilder's character, okay? You don't know his title. You don't know his title name yet. You don't know his name yet. And it's the student stands up and he asked Dr. Frankenstein. And he's like, it's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm like, okay. And the student's like just asking, he's like, about, he's like, aren't you the, like grandson of that famous Frankenstein, the one who's trying to regenerate everything? And he's like, yeah, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, then he asks him about reflexive and voluntary impulses. And there's this demonstration, of course, where Gene Wilder just, like, totally knees this guy in the balls.
Yeah.
Which is funny. And that actor was also in Blazing Saddles, too.
Oh, was
Yeah, the one he kneed. I was like, I know you.
Okay.
And so then he talks about how nerves and everything, they can't be regenerated at all. And that same student just keeps bugging him about his family. And then just like, well, his name's Victor. Victor was his grandfather and he's Frederick. So Frederick just like erupts on him. And he's like, he was a crazy man, and I have nothing to do with it. I'm not like him at all, and everything. And of course, he accidentally stabs himself with a scalpel at this point.
Yeah.
Because he was so mad.
I was just like, okay, so we're going to have some, not only, because, like, from this whole scene, I was like, so it's not only going to be, like, wordplay and stuff, but, because, you know, he's, like, doing the Frankenstein thing.
It's Frankenstein.
Yeah. And I was like, so we're going to have wordplay, and we're going to have physical comedy. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, physical comedy can be funny in certain situations. But I didn't think the stabbing in the leg thing was funny, but that's because I've seen it in something else. I don't remember what, but...
You, of course, are completely, like, desensitized to all horror films, so...
Yeah.
They're like, oh, dude stabbing himself with a blade, it's nothing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yep, he did that.
Yep, he did that. Yeah. And so that guy that came in with the box, he introduces himself. He's saying, I'm here to, like, in this box, this is your grandfather's will.
Yeah.
In which his grandfather left him everything. Like, the castle and all that and everything. And so then it goes to a train station, the scene, and this is where you see Frederick with Madeline Kahn's character, Elizabeth, and they're engaged and everything, and she's telling him goodbye, but she's more worried about how she looks than telling him goodbye.
Yeah. I was like, okay, you're a little bit self-obsessed. But it also kind of, now that I, like, because in that scene, I was just kind of overwhelmed with how selfish she was being, that I didn't really, like, look at her and recognize who she was, but then now talking about her and hearing her name and stuff, I was like, I recognize her. And she plays, like, kind of the same character she played in Paper Moon.
Similar, yes.
Yeah.
Very similar. I'll give it that. It's like, and then this is, of course, I'm honestly, this makes me think of August. Our friend August. Okay? So, they tell each other bye using elbows.
Oh, yeah.
And me and August used to do that all the time in college, so that just made me think of him, too. And then, of course, as he gets on the train and he blows her a kiss and she, like, completely dodges it. Like, she, like, ducks away. I'm like, oh, okay. See, so you're seeing how her character is. You know, she's very vain, very selfish person and everything, so.
Yeah.
So then you get the ride to, this is the train ride to Transylvania and everything. And he gets there to the train station, and he is waiting, and he's greeted by a man. He's like a hunchback.
Yeah.
His name is Igor. Not Igor. Not like you think. No, it's Igor.
Yeah.
Because, you know, his name is, you know, Frankenstein, not Frankenstein. So, of course, he has got to mess with him, too.
Yeah. And he's like,
Marty Feldman, of course.
He's like, oh, I thought we were talking that way.
Yeah.
That got a little bit of a smirk out of me.
Some more smirks. We're doing okay. We're doing okay.
That was a smirk.
And of course, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm here to take you to the castle and everything. You know, my grandfather used to work for your grandfather. You know, we just kept the line going. He's like, oh, okay. And he tells him to walk this way. And he, like, walks, like, a really silly way. And he makes, of course, Frederick do the same thing. And he's like, wait a minute, why am I walking like this again?
Yeah.
And of course, well, we'll talk about that in trivia. And then Igor throws Frederick's bags into the back of this, was it a cart? And there's hay in the back. And you hear, like, this lady, she's like, woof! And you see, this is Inga. You meet Inga.
Yeah.
And she's in the back. And it's going to be his lab assistant. She's very pretty. Very nice. And so Igor takes him to the castle and everything. And there's some wordplay going on in there, you know, because you hear some werewolves and werewolves, as they say. Okay, and then they get to the castle and everything, and of course, Frederick helped Inga out of the cart, and they're greeted by Cloris Leachman's character, Frau Blücher. And every time her name is said, horses start like making sounds and everything. Every time her name is said. Yeah. And that's a running gag throughout the entire movie, actually.
That part, I was just like, kind of just knowing about horses. I was like, okay, that's weird. Don't think horses would respond that way. I would expect dogs, but okay.
No, it's horses. It's because it's funnier that way. Because you would expect a dog, but you wouldn't expect a horse to do that.
That's true.
That's why.
That's true.
This is why. I was like, I've always loved Cloris Leachman because she plays these weird, quirky characters. So she leads him upstairs and everything, shows him to their rooms, and she tells Frederick that he stayed in his grandfather's old room, and you see a picture of his grandfather. It looks like Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
It is. It's just Gene Wilder. Just a little more crazy looking.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I mean, Gene Wilder's already got the long blonde hair that's kind of out there.
And the crazy eyes.
And the crazy eyes. So, yeah. It's pretty much just him. Just older, I guess.
Yeah.
And you see that, she's there's this whole little bit, too, about, she's offering, brandy and warm milk and Ovaltine and... And then Frederick sees that she actually kisses Victor's painting. And it's like, okay, that's not weird at all.
Yeah.
So he thinks he's like, huh, that's weird.
I was like, okay.
You find out later. You do.
Yeah.
And so it's night. Frederick's asleep. He's having a nightmare about his family name and all that. And then Inga comes in, wakes him up because she hears some violin playing. And he also hears a violin playing. And it's behind this bookshelf. This bookcase. Yeah. And they have to figure out how to get to the violin playing sound. And there's that whole little thing about that, too. How it's like a spinning bookshelf.
Yeah, that part was somewhat entertaining. But I actually kind of saw that one coming, when they were messing with the books, trying to find the handle. I was like, oh, they're going to have issues with this door. And
they did.
So I was kind of expecting that one to come up.
And so they get through the bookcase and everything, and it leads down. It's leading down into, it leads down to these stairs and everything, and you see, there's these skulls, and they're different, years of decay.
Yeah.
It's 2 years, a year or something, 6 months, and then you see freshly dead. And it's Igor, and he's just, pretending to be dead, and then he just, scares him.
Yeah, that was a little smirk. But I've also seen that specific clip before.
Oh.
I don't remember where, but I've seen that, literally the heads and then him. So I've seen that part before.
I didn't know that. Huh.
I didn't either till I saw it. Didn't even know what it was from.
Well, now you know.
Now I know.
Now you know it's Young Frankenstein.
Yep.
And so they go down a little more, and they see there's this light switch and everything. It's not the first one. This is the joke I got, actually. This is the one I got this time. Saying it's not the first one, and he does the first one, it shocks Frederick. And it's actually the second one. There's more wordplay there. And you see down, the lights turn on, and you see this, laboratory. And there's just all these crazy-looking devices.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so cool. This is a lab. And, of course, the violin playing had stopped at that point. It has stopped. And so they keep going down, and there's a light in the room, down in the lab. And so they go through it, and they find a cigar, the violin that had been playing. And, of course, this is Victor's private library. And there's a book on the table that says, How I Did It.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I mean, if you're trying to chronicle something, of course, I'm going to put How I Did It. And of course, so Frederick reads it out loud and everything, and he's like, this can't be true. How can he do this? And everything. He's like really puzzled about it. And the other two are just like, this is boring. And so it goes to the next day. This is breakfast time. And I was puzzled. I'm like, do people really eat kippers for breakfast?
I don't know.
Because kippers are fish.
Yeah.
I've always been puzzled about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe in other countries.
Yeah. I mean, because they are in Transylvania, so.
Yeah.
Probably.
I was just like, I don't know.
Maybe it's a British thing.
That's what I was trying to ask. Like, I don't know if it's like, I don't know. It always kind of puzzled me. And so he's talking. He's trying to think this out. He's like, well, he was reading the book. He's like, it has to be something that's like, has to be a big person to do it and make things simpler. And of course, there's the joke of, everything's big in proportion. So of course, other things have to be big too.
Yeah.
There's that joke there. And Igor's drawing while they're talking. And he's like, is this it? And he shows a picture. And it looks like Frankenstein, like, monster that you would typically know and see. That you would recognize. He's like, oh, that looks right. Yeah, that would work. And then it goes to, like, this dark, rainy scene. And you see this person being, like, hanged.
Yeah.
And it looks just like the drawing.
Yep. I like that they kind of, like, built you up on not only this Frankenstein, but also the original Frankenstein.
Yes.
I like that they gave you information on both of them.
Yes. It's like, I mean, they did reference, Mary Shelley's work, so.
Yeah. Which
is actually a really good book. It is. So they see the person, they're hanging and everything. And then, so he gets buried. And so Igor and Frederick go and they dig up this guy's body and everything. And they put it in the cart and everything. I'm like, okay. I was like, this is me thinking logically. Because I've seen this so many times. I'm like, how did they get underneath the coffin and lift the guy up when he's a big guy? I know they're two men, but he was a really big guy. He's heavy.
Yeah.
And dead weight is dead weight. But I was thinking logically because, I've seen it so many times. I was trying to find my little things I can nitpick. That was one of them.
Yeah.
So they put him on the cart and everything, and they wheel it out. And they're going, and the cart, like, coffin falls off it.
Yeah.
And they put it back up, and this, like, constable comes up and asks, hey, what's going on and everything.
Yeah.
And there's that whole thing there, too. There's some jokes there, of course. And then, of course, they get back to the castle and everything. They put the body, of course, on the examination table and everything. And Frederick's like, well, we need a brain now. And he tells Igor that he wants a certain brain, H. Delbrooks.
Yeah. And
so, this is, Igor goes to the place where the brains are, because convenience, right? And he goes there, gets in, he grabs the right brain at first, but then he's walking by a mirror and he scares himself and drops the brain.
Yeah.
And so, he just grabs another brain. In this course, it says, do not use this brain, abnormal.
Yeah. That part, when he's, like, telling later on, like, about the brain, when he's like, oh, yeah, Abby
normal, yeah.
Yeah, Abby normal. When he's telling Frankenstein about that, that got a little smirk out of me. That was a little smirk.
We're getting smirks. Yes.
Yeah. 3 of them. 3 of them so far.
I'm taking it. It's better than nothing. Alright, so then we get to the experiments, of course. Excuse me. Igor's on the roof with a kite, and it's raining and everything. There's lightning going on. And so they start the experiment and everything, and Inga and Igor are trying to raise the platform up to the roof, and Frederick's on there, and they use, like, electricity to try to, like, I don't know, jumpstart his dead nerves, in a way.
Yeah.
And, you see after, like, Igor throws all 3 switches, that, like, you see, like, this, I think this is cool. You see, the monster's face starts glowing.
Yeah.
And so they brings back down and everything after they turn everything off. And he's listening to see if there's any, like, heartbeat or anything, and there's nothing. And so he gets frustrated, and he just, like, he's like, well, he's calm at first. He's like, okay, well, I didn't expect this to work. And then he just gets mad.
Yeah.
Then it jumps over to, there's a town meeting going on. Yep. This reminded me of Blazing Saddles, actually. Because there's one just like it in Blazing Saddles. And this one is talking about how there's a Frankenstein back in the castle. Yeah. And they're just like, we don't want that same thing happening all over again that happened before.
Yeah, they got some, like, PTSD on that.
Yeah, they do. They're like, because we had to deal with that before with grandfather. Let's see if grandson's the same way. And so there's Kenneth Mars as Inspector Kemp in this. This is where you meet him. And he's like, I will go talk, I'll talk with Frankenstein and everything. See what's going on. Make sure he's not up to, like, making experiments and all of that.
Yeah.
And did you notice, please tell me you noticed, that Inspector Kemp, he has an eye patch on, and then he has a monocle over it.
Yeah, I did see that. That's the monocle, and, like, him messing with his arm is what reminded me of Inspector Gadget.
I mean...
And now I just want to, like, do that. I want to, like, anytime we talk about him, I want to put in that Inspector Gadget theme.
I'm fine with
like,
that.
Do, Inspector Gadget. Like that.
Well, that's up to you, Kat. It's like, yeah, it just... The monocle over the eye patch gets me every time. Every single time. It's like, what are you trying to see out of an eye patch for?
Yep. It's funny.
And so it goes to, after they clean up and everything, they're at dinner. Frederick, Inga, and Igor, they're talking about, like, maybe it just wasn't working. It wasn't supposed to work. And then, like, and then it goes down to the laboratory, and you see the monster. His hand starts moving. Yeah. He starts groaning because he actually is alive. And then it goes upstairs. Of course, they're enjoying dessert. And you hear a groan, like a moan, a groan. And Frederick's like, I didn't know you liked the dessert so much, He's like, that wasn't, to Igor, and he's like, that wasn't me. And so they run down to the laboratory, and they see that the monster is alive. And so Frederick's, like, super excited. So, of course, he wants to release a 7-foot, creature he just created.
Yeah, he's, like, super ready for him to be able to, like, walk around and have fun and stuff.
Yeah. And so he releases the strings, and he gets the monster to sit up slowly and stand. And he starts walking with Frederick. The monster does. And you see Igor, he's gonna, like, it looks like he's gonna smoke, like, a cigar or something, and he lights a match, and that just freaks the monster out.
Yeah.
And so, like, he freaks out. The monster freaks out, so he starts grabbing Frederick by the throat and starts choking him. And then, of course, you get charades. Because they don't know what he wants them to do.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, it's a sedative. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is where you get the... Frederick asks Igor, it's like, what brain did I put in this again?
Yeah, and then it's the Abby normal.
The Abby normal. Abby someone. Abby who? Abby normal.
Yeah. That one was a little smirk.
Yeah, and he's like super pissed about it. So he starts strangling Igor. And so Igor is trying to do charades to get Inga to help him out.
Yeah.
And then you hear a knock at the door. And so... Yeah. And so of course
Inspector Gadget shows up.
Yep. He goes,
I told you this is what I'm going to call him.
So Frederick and him are playing darts, and
yeah,
it's quite a silly game of darts. It is, because, the inspector cheats.
Well, and darts end up going everywhere.
The darts are all over the place. They go outside, they hit a cat. I mean... So yeah, the darts literally go on like tires and everything. And so Kemp is he's like, okay. He's convinced Frederick's not doing anything. So he goes, and his arm gets stuck because he's trying to salute him and everything. Because it's a crappy fake arm. It is.
Yeah.
And as you see him driving away, you see all the darts are in the tires and they made them flat. And then it jumps down to, you see Frau... she is down in the lab and she sees the monster on the table.
Yeah.
And he's restrained still. He's back in his restraints. And so...
she goes to free him.
Yeah, she frees him. And they're like, the other three are like, don't. He's dangerous. Yeah. And she's like, no, I know how to calm him down. So she's the one who pulls out the violin and she starts playing. That song that they heard earlier. And he just, like, calms down. He's just like, aw. The monster's just, like, nice and calm and peaceful about it.
Yeah.
And so she's the one who had led them down to the laboratory and showed them, the book and everything. And you find out that her and Frederick's grandfather, Victor, had been, what she called him, lovers. He was my boyfriend. I was like, oh gosh, okay.
Yeah.
And so there's some sparks that go off that scare the monster, and he just like gets out.
Yeah, that was an interesting little twist there.
That he gets out?
No, the whole lover thing.
Oh. I mean, yeah, in a way, it is. You're like, okay, that's random.
Yeah.
So then it goes, they're like, well, we have to get him. Have to get him back somehow. And then it goes, like, to this little girl, and she's playing and singing at this well and everything. And you see the monster come up. And you're like, uh-oh, what's gonna go on here? And there's the dad in there, he's boarding up the windows, he's like, oh, the monster's loose and everything. He's like, and the mom's ironing, they're like, did you put the kids to sleep? They're like, no. It's like, well, good job. And so they start looking for her. And she's just playing with the monster. They're playing and everything. And they go on the teeter-totter. And, well, he's a big guy. So, of course, she, like, flings her into her room. Conveniently.
Yeah.
That I was like, that's cute. Because, you see that with the little girl and how sensitive he can be.
Yeah. I did like that moment with the little girl.
It's like he's not just a heartless creature. No. He's learning. He's alive for the first time.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know. So he's just like, I'm going to be nice. Okay? And then it goes to, this is Gene Hackman's part, actually, coming up. This is the blind man.
Yeah.
And this is a blind man, and he's praying and everything. He's like, I just want, like, some company and everything. And then the monster, like comes in, barges in. And he's like, oh, yay, I have a visitor. Awesome. course, he's blind, so he can't see him or anything. And the monster can't talk. And so he just assumes he's mute. And so, he has, this whole conversation with him. He tries to pour soup out for him, but he spills it on the monster. And the monster doesn't like it because, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's hot. It hurts. And then, get some wine. Pour some wine out. That works okay. But then he, breaks his mug trying to do cheers with him.
Yeah.
And then, he's has cigars, trying to be hospital. And he's with the flame, he's going to light it. And, the monster's no, I don't like fire and everything. He's, scared. And he shows him, he's oh, it's not scary. It's good. And he shows him how to light it and everything. And then he grabs the candle and tries to light the cigar for the monster, but he lets the monster's thumb on fire.
Yeah. That was a little smirk, too.
We're getting more smirks out. We're getting more smirks. And so he, storms out and everything. Because, you don't like the fire. He, his hands was on fire. So, the monster goes out. And the blind man's but I was going to make espresso. And, and then it fades to black. And then it goes to, the monster's walking in the street. And he hears the violin playing.
Yeah.
And he follows it. And it's Frederick disguised playing the violin and everything. He gets him close, and then they throw this big net on him, on the monster. Yeah. And they have to, tackle him down just to get the sedative on him. And then it goes to, it's down in the laboratory, and the monster is locked and chained up in this room. And Frederick's going to go, and he's you know what, I think he just needs, some human compassion. Maybe that will help him out. And so, he goes in, and the monster, wakes up, and he, sits up. Big and tall. He's shit, what did I do? This is a bad idea. But he had told them not to let him out, even if he was scared. And so he just plays up the monster. He's oh, you're handsome, you're amazing. There's no one like you. They're just jealous of you. Makes the monster feel real good about himself.
I must have missed that part. I don't remember that.
Oh.
That's okay.
And so Frederick's I'm going to teach you how to walk properly, how to try to talk and everything. It's a nice little scene. And they're and he actually finally acknowledges that his name is Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
At that point. And then it jumps to this, theater. And it's going to say how the science community is going to see, the monster that Dr. Frankenstein has created,
Yeah.
And he comes out and he tells him, he's in a nice tuxedo and everything. He tells him how he reanimated dead tissue. He didn't believe it himself until he did it.
Yeah.
And so then the monster steps out. He's in a white gown. He steps out and he shows that he can walk correctly and walk forward and backward.
Yeah.
And then after he does that, of course, this made me giggle. Frederick goes up and gives him a treat. Because he did good.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because he did a good job. And
like a dog.
Exactly, like a dog show. And so, and then it goes to Frederick and the monster. They're singing and dancing to Putting on the Ritz.
Yeah, this is the part that I thought was funny because I like that song, the Putting on the Ritz.
Dun, 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 dun.
And then that they were dancing to it, and then he goes,
Putting on the Ritz, in his monster way.
This is the part that I thought was funny.
And Igor's playing the piano the entire time they're doing this too.
Yeah.
They're just playing it up. It's just this is so silly and random. I love it.
Yeah.
But then, on the stage, the front of the stage is light bulbs. And one of them bursts accidentally and, causes a tiny fire. And so the monster gets scared. He freaks out a little bit. And he's Frederick's it's okay. It's okay. And he's don't get him upset to the crowd. But And then they start throwing, like, lettuce at him.
Yeah.
And then, so, of course, the monster's gonna get upset and mad, and he just storms the crowd.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Inspector Kemp and the police are in the background watching everything. So, of course, they pick up the monster and carry him out.
Yep.
And they lock him up in the jail cell in chains. And then it goes to, back in the
Freddy
lab.
and,
yes, Freddy.
And
Freddy.
Freddy, yep, that's what I wrote it down his name as.
Oh, God.
Freddy. They did call him Freddy at one point in the movie, so that's what I just, like,
Well, Elizabeth called him Freddy at one point, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Frederick. I'm calling her Frederick.
That's fine. You know me, as soon as I get a name, like, that's what you're stuck with.
Like Inspector Gadget.
Yep, and you remember Miss Teacher Face?
Miss Teacher Face, yes.
Yep.
So Frederick and Inga are talking, and she's like, I wish, he's like, I just like help balance the chemicals in his brain to help him out so he can, be like a normal person. He's like, I don't know how we're going to do it, though. And she's like, I wish I could help you, like, relieve your attention and everything. And, of course, she does.
She does.
She does. And you see Frau comes down into the lab with a paper in her hand. And she calls for the doctor, and he's up on that platform on that the table. Him and Inga, of course, are. And
indisposed.
Yeah. And they come down, and she's like, your fiance's coming today.
Yeah.
He's like, shit. And then, of course, Elizabeth comes. And she meets Igor and Igor. And Igor's very, taken with Elizabeth because she's a pretty woman.
Yeah.
And I love how he bites her scarf. Her little fox thing she has on.
Oh, I must have missed that because I was probably writing something down.
Yeah, he was biting her scarf. That part always gets me.
Interesting.
And then it jumps to back to the jail where the monster is chained up. And there's this cop. And this cop, it's just like totally messing with the monster. He's just lighting matches and sticking them in front of his face. And I'm thinking that's one way to piss somebody off.
Yeah.
And of course it does. It makes him mad. So he grabs the cop by the throat and he breaks his chains and everything and it gets out.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's an angry mob. There has to be an angry mob.
Yeah, it's a Frankenstein movie. There has to be
at least one angry mob. At least.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go after the monster and everything. And, of course, this is, like, nighttime now. Like, they're going to bed and everything. And Frederick and Elizabeth are talking. And he's like, the monster's loose and everything. And he's talking with her. And, of course, let's just say he has a hard time not telling her good night. Let's say that. He has a tough time with that. She kind of refuses him. Because, they gotta wait till they get married.
Yeah.
And he's just like, okay. And he literally has to, on his knees, walk out of the room. And that makes me laugh. So, and then it goes to Elizabeth singing. And this is actually Madeline Kahn singing. This is her real singing voice.
Oh. Okay.
This is her true singing voice. She's a beautiful singer. And so, she's singing, and the monster hears her. And so, he comes, and he takes her.
Yep.
And of course, then you get, like, the flashback from, like, him taking her to, like, this barn to, like, the angry mob and everything.
Yeah.
And they go to the barn, and he's lays her down, of course. And you see that her hair has changed.
Yeah.
Her hair has the 2 white streaks in it.
Yeah, like Bride of Frankenstein.
Like Bride of Frankenstein,
streaks.
Exactly.
I like that they included that. I thought was good.
It's good homage. And so, they have a roll in the hay, as they say. And as soon as, like, they start, she just starts singing.
Yep.
I'm like, well, I guess that's a good thing. You know, they have
That was another smirk there.
got some smirks in here. All right, so they have a smoke afterwards because, you know, that's what you do after that. You have a smoke.
I mean, I don't, but I don't smoke, so.
I mean, I guess some people do that. I don't, but, you know, I don't smoke either. And so he hears the violin playing, of course, so he leaves her there. And she's like, really? You just leaving me here after all that?
Yeah.
And of course, this is Frederick's playing the violin again on top of the castle. And you see Igor, he has a music stand up and everything with music. And he has like this horn that he plays. And he looks like he's counting rest to know when to come in.
Oh.
And the musician
I didn't look at him. I was looking at Freddie.
It's just like the musician and me, which is giggling. I'm like, yep, he's counting rests there. He's waiting to come in correctly. So the monster comes up, he climbs the wall and everything, and he gets on top of the roof and everything where they're at, and then he, like, faints. The monster does. And Frederick's like, is everything ready for, like, you know, the transference? And it is, so they do it. They run it. So what is it? They're switching some of, giving some of Frederick's intelligence to the monster.
Yeah.
Okay, and they said after they do it, it has to be for 15 minutes only. No more, no less.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the mob storms in.
Yeah.
They use as you say, Inspector Gadget, and his arm to barge in through the door.
Yeah, so Inspector Gadget. He's got his gadget to break down the door.
His fake arm, yeah. So they break in and they stop the experiment, the transference, 7 seconds short.
Yep.
Yes. And so they try to grab Frederick and everything, and the monster, he tells them to stop. And he has, like, a clear, beautiful speaking voice now.
Yeah.
And so he's telling them how he wanted to show that he was a nice, kind person, but he was greeted with, like, all this, like, you know, scared and violence. So, of course, he turned that way, too.
Yeah, like, hostility and stuff.
And and then he's like, he's the only one who helped me out. This is the only one. And then Inspector Kemp's like, well, this changes everything. You can actually talk and, like, articulate your thoughts.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, we're good then. You're not just like some savage monster.
Yeah.
And so they listened. Of course, everyone else goes off because Inspector Kemp leads them out with his fake arm. And they're listening to, where is it? They listen to make sure that Frederick's still alive and everything. Because, you know, they don't know what happened after it was stopped.
Yep.
So then it goes to, you see Frederick carrying an Inga because they got married and everything.
Yeah. You know, carrying across the threshold.
Yep. And so, she tells, you know, it's her wedding night. So, of course, wedding night, air quotes. And so she's like, I'll be right back. And then she's in the bathroom. She starts singing that melody that the monster liked. And, like, it's, like, switches something in Frederick's head. Just a little bit.
Yep.
And then it goes to, you see Elizabeth with the monster, and she's singing, too. Yeah. And her hair is just like the Bride of Frankenstein. It's up in that straight up hair with the streaks.
Yeah. That, like, straight... It's, like, kind of
like
up and, like, back at an angle, kind of.
I don't know what you call that.
I don't know.
I mean, there's a style like that called a beehive, but I don't know if you consider that a beehive hairdo.
No.
I don't know. It's just really big hair up.
Yeah, just Bride of Frankenstein hair.
Yep.
That's all you could call it. That's what it is.
Yeah, so, of course, those two are together and everything, and He's, like, talking to her and everything. He's reading the paper, the monster reading the paper. He's like, she's talking again. Just let me read. And then it goes back to Inga. They're in bed. She's in bed waiting for Frederick. And she asks him, she's like, well, I've always wondered. He got some of your intelligence. What did you get from him?
And he's just like,
Yeah, he made that moaning sound, groaning sound. And let's just say I put down it's a rockin' wedding night. Yeah. And she starts singing and everything.
Yeah.
And then it goes out to Igor's on the ledge, and he's playing the horn. His horn. Just hanging out, and then it just fades.
I must have missed that, too, because I didn't see that.
Man, you gotta pay attention. But yeah, that's it. That's Young Frankenstein for you.
Yeah. So, the music for this is by John Morris. He works a lot with Mel Brooks. He's known for Blazing Saddles from 1974, The Elephant Man from 1980, Coach, which is a TV show that ran from 1989 to 1997, and then Spaceballs from 1987. The first thing he ever worked on was an episode of the TV show ABC Stage 67. He worked on an episode in 1966. And he is currently working on Clue. What he did was just like some music for the presentation short. So like the proposal of the idea of, I'm guessing like a remake of Clue. So, comparison?
Oh, to the book Frankenstein? Or to the movies?
Just
what are you trying to go with?
Whatever.
Have you seen the original Frankenstein movies?
I don't remember. I've probably seen pieces of it, but I haven't. If I've seen them, it's been a long time.
It takes some elements from the movies. Just like how the monster looks. Like, there's, of course, the homages, to, like, Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
The lab, that was also, like, the original Frankenstein. The book, this is the one I want to talk about. So, how the monster says at the end of Young Frankenstein, how he's saying that he wanted to show compassion, he wanted to show caring like that. It actually talks about that in the book.
Oh, okay.
He does say that in the book. Because it's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
It's his monster. And so he does, I don't want to give too much away because you haven't read it yet, but it does talk about that.
Okay.
It really does. That's like a big point in the book. I will say that. And I won't say much more.
Okay. Do you have any trivia?
But I do have trivia. So, all that lab equipment that they used?
Yeah.
That is actually from the original Frankenstein movies.
Oh, yeah, I saw something, the guy that had it, like, donated it for them to use or something like that.
Yeah, because he never got screen credit for it, ever.
Yeah.
He's the one who created all of it. And that's, of course, Ken Strickfaden. He's the one who created all of the machinery, all for the labs.
Yeah.
For the Frankenstein movies. And he's like, can I borrow this stuff?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure. And he gave him the screen credit that he deserved.
Yeah.
Because he never got it for the other movies.
That's cool.
I thought that was great. If you noticed, Igor's hump kept moving back and forth.
Oh, did it?
Yes. And Marty Feldman did that on purpose. To see if anyone would notice. And then they finally did. And they actually put that in the movie.
That's cool.
Because Frederick's like, wasn't your hump on the other side? He's like, what hump?
Yeah.
Of course, I was going to mention this. The walk this way thing.
Uh-huh.
From this movie, that's what inspired Aerosmith to do that song.
Oh, that's cool.
Walk This Way, because they love this movie. They're like, oh my god, this is great. So, of course, they're like, oh, we gotta do a song just like that.
Yeah.
And that's where they get their famous song, Walk This Way. It's from this movie.
That's cool.
the idea for this, he'd been writing this for a while. And what the deal was that Gene Wilder helped Mel Brooks with Blazing Saddles, because in Blazing Saddles, the original actor for Gene Wilder's character was terrible. We'll just say that. And so he's like, all right, I'll help Mel out because he's my friend and everything. He's like, but he told Mel, I want you to do my movie next.
Yeah.
Which was this movie.
Well, that's cool. Then he, held up his end of the bargain.
Mel's really good about that. He really is. So, how they did... I like special effects stuff. So, how they did the glowing head thing with the monster when he's coming alive.
Yeah. It's
just a plastic head that looks just like Peter Boyle and everything, with just lights.
That's cool.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
The skulls that they use, the year, the 6 months, and everything, only 2 of them are real, actually. Real skulls.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, favorite line. I've got a few.
You can go first.
I'd rather be remembered by my own contributions to science rather than my accidental relation to a kook. I thought that was kind of funny. It could work when he kind of starts to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If science teaches us anything, it teaches us to accept our failures and successes with quiet dignity and grace. And then he throws a fit.
Yeah. It's a good one.
What a filthy job. Could be worse. How? Could be raining.
It is. Starts raining.
Yeah.
I love that one.
This is a whole conversation, but just my favorite part of it was, of course, that would simplify everything. But that's it. That's all I got.
There's just I've seen this so many times. I just don't know where to start. There's a lot of wordplay in this, so where is the one? The Destiny one. Of course, Destiny, no escaping that for me.
Yeah.
I like that line. What else? I mean, there's just little conversations too. What knockers? And she's like, oh, thank you, doctor.
Mm-hmm.
What else? It might be dangerous. You go first.
Yeah.
Need a hand? No thanks. Have one.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I'm saving my favorite. He says to Inga, elevate me. She's like, here? Now?
Yeah, I remember that one too.
Again, I love the Abby Normal one. That's a good one.
Abby Normal one is good.
The Rain one you already said. And this, I just love this line mostly because this is Inga, this is in the hay part. She's like, would you like to have a roll in the hay? And it's fun. Roll in the hay. And she just starts rolling in the hay.
Yeah.
I love that line. And I quote it all the time with my brothers. And they get it and they just start laughing. Mm-hmm. But my brothers and I talk in movie quotes and TV quotes. So, can I do mine? Because it's a little long, but it's my favorite. And it said, would you like to have a roll in the hay? It's fun. Roll in the hay.
Okay. So, rating. What did you give it?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so I'm giving this a 9. Mostly because it's up there with my 9s. And I absolutely love this movie. Great wordplay. I'm a big comedy fan, so this is right up my alley. Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, spoofing old Hollywood horror films. I mean, what's more not to love about it?
Okay.
But it's not up there with my 10s. And I'm thinking, I can understand why some people don't like the humor in it. And how I can see how some people wouldn't like this movie very much.
Okay.
You have to have, like, this certain type of humor. Like, that's why it's not a 10, because if it's 10, like, pretty much most people would like this movie.
Yeah.
Like, my 10s have been, like, Wizard of Oz and Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And most people actually really like those movies. So, in this one, you have to have that sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I will give, what was the other part? Why it's not a 10. I will admit that sometimes it can be a little silly. So
yeah, it is.
It's quite silly, but I love the silliness. I love the silliness. So I'm a 9. So
all right,
there we go.
I gave it a 5.
Oof, that low.
It's just
that's a comedy.
It's just so much comedy. And it's not that I don't get the jokes, like I got the jokes. I just didn't like the comedy.
It's just the comedy thing for you. That's it, Kat. You're like, comedies can no longer, like, can't be higher than a certain amount.
Yeah.
No. I mean, our next film for our Halloween event, I know you're going to rate that one higher because
it's dark
your type
comedy, though.
I'm like, it's your type of comedy.
Yeah. That's the thing is, like, this one is not my type of comedy. I like the one, it's like, it's got to be dark comedy or kind of like a little bit of dry humor. And this one's just not really. Like, it starts out like it might be, but then it's not. The idea is really good. I do like the idea of it. If it was actually a horror movie, I would like it even more. Because I like horror. Gene Wilder is great. All the acting's really good. The Igor guy is weird. I wasn't a big fan of him.
I love Marty Feldman. And guess his eyes are really that way.
Yeah, I recognize him. I'm not a big fan.
Oh, you might struggle then when we get to Python.
But yeah, just the comedy is just what takes me out of it. That's what it is for me. I just can't really, like, this type of comedy just can't really get that high for me. Just because I'm expecting it, and like I said, like the one thing I really like mentioned about expecting something to happen is like the trap door. Well, not really trap door, but the secret door. Like I said, I saw that coming. It's just one of those things, like, if I can see the joke coming, I don't like it. But, like I said, Gene Wilder, great acting in this. I liked the makeup on the monster a lot. I thought they did a great job with that. The idea was great. I mean, really, it's just not my cup of tea.
It's just not your comedy.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's why you can't rate it too high.
Yeah.
But it's not too low. I expected lower, actually.
Oh, really?
I did. I expected lower because this is my type of comedy, not yours. It's like complete opposite of yours.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, and me, I love this type of comedy because, again, Mel Brooks. And I've seen Mel Brooks live.
I think just the reason it's higher than you were expecting it to be, for me, is because of the way they took the story and what they did with it. Like, it's not what I was expecting, and they did it really well. I think that's what made it higher than... Because, like, when I first heard about it, like, when you first said it was a comedy and stuff, I was like, oh, great, I'm gonna hate this. Like, absolutely hate this. But then, like, we get to it, and we're, like, watching it, and get going, and it's got the story and stuff. And there was a few parts that were somewhat entertaining for me, so
we got some smirks.
Yeah,
so
got some smirks, and then the dancing part with putting on the Ritz, I liked that. So, but that's one of those. It's just like I didn't expect that to happen.
That's what I was gonna say. So, you did not expect the monster and Frank and Frederick to start dancing.
Yeah, that's the thing I like though, is I like unexpected stuff. Like if I'm not seeing that coming, then it's gonna be funny for me. So.
And Gene Wilder fought to put that in the movie too.
Well, good job, sir.
He did. He fought with Mel, and Mel's like, "Okay, let's put it." He's like, "Why did you argue with me about it if you're just gonna let me do it?" He's like, "Well, I wanted to make sure you really were passionate about it." Because that's how Mel Brooks is.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
All right. But yeah, I think that's all I've got about, like, my thoughts on it and stuff.
Okay.
So, our next film is Beetlejuice.
I was like, it's another comedy.
Comedy fantasy.
Oh, fantasy. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our next film, 1988. So we will talk about that one next. So thank you for listening to our Halloween event, part 2, and we will see you with part 3 shortly. Bye.
Bye.